I'm going to call the Destin Fire Control District Board of Commissioners meeting to order. We're here at Airport Road, 848 Airport Road, Destin, Florida, and February 11th, 2020 at 5:30 p.m. We'll start out with employee recognitions, Chief.
Yes, sir. Before we get to the bigger one, I just want to introduce the commission to one of our new firefighters. As you know, we just went through a hiring process and tested out about 20. We ended up hiring 5 immediately. We have 3 others that are in school, going to finish up school, and then we're going to bring them on. And one of the new firefighters are here tonight. Firefighter paramedic Lindsay Yadig. Did I get that right?
Yes, you did. Thank you.
And stand up, Lindsay. So that way you can. Yes. Very proud of her. She did a great job during her physical agility, which is one of the toughest. Well, not one. It's the toughest in the region. So she did really well on her physical agility. So I'm very proud of her as well as the other 4 that we hired. So very happy. With that said, tonight we'd like to recognize firefighter. One of our firefighters who's made it all the way up to the position of captain and works for us for his 20 years of service. He's dedicated 20 years of his life to us, and he's very supportive of this board and my staff and I. He's helped us out tremendously throughout his career in different endeavors that we've taken on. I'm very proud of him. And with that said, I'd like to introduce Captain David Darden. Hey. Thank you so much for your 20 years of service, brother. Okay, if you don't mind, sir, hold that. Outstanding. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it very much.
God bless you.
I thought you was going to make them stay and be cool.
You don't have anything to say?
No, that's right.
Well, when you're going through the financials, you don't want to miss that.
Oh, God. Okay.
Thank you, Chris.
No, he has to come back. Everybody else can leave.
Good job, guys. Thanks for showing up.
Yeah, thank y'all for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks for all that you guys do.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
No, so that's it for tonight. I hope to have a couple more.
Okay. All right. Next item is public comments. We'll open the floor for any public comments. Thing is, there's none. We'll close the floor. Public comments. Review of the minutes from the regular meeting January 14th, 2020.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of January 31st, 2020.
January 14th? Minutes of January 14th?
January 14th.
Second. I was looking at the train.
Even with glasses on.
No additions, deletions, corrections, so call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Jack.
Unanimous. We'll also make a recognition that Commissioner Buckingham has got a excused absent, and so does Chairman Moore, who's not here this evening, with an excused absent. All right, go to the review of the financial report for January 31st, 2020.
The report before you shows 4 months of fiscal activity. Ad valorem collections are steadily coming in now. As of this report, we've received $3.1 million. With that makes a high cash in our checking account, and I have this week to transfer $1.3 million to the bond fund and $700,000 to the day-to-day fund. We'll not expect to take any withdrawals on either of those accounts until July, and then we'll have several monthly, but I'll make that transfer this week. The audit is just about complete. It'll be presented at next month's meeting. With that, all adjustments have been made or are included in this report, including the adjustment to the pension liability. So you will notice on page 5 of your report on the balance sheet that the long-term liability to the retirement trust is down to $6.9 million. And that's, 3 years ago, we were at 10 million. So that's a substantial decrease. We're making good efforts to reduce that liability. As far as the rest of the report goes, revenue reserve expenditures, we do have larger legal expenditures this month due to an arbitration case that we're dealing with. Other than that, the rest of the expenditures are in line. So if there's any questions, I can address those.
Make a motion to approve financial of January 31st, 2020.
Second.
Call for a vote. All in favor?
Kevin, if I could just ask a question on that, just, can you break down the 10 to 7 in our pension liability in terms of what's the impact of difference in the actuarial work versus what's the impact of the accelerated payments we've been making? I mean, how much credit do we get for the 3 million?
Well, yes, I can provide you with that data. I have to do research. I mean, last year we put 1.2 additional down.
I'm thinking it's over the 3 years, maybe around 2 million approximately. Is that-
For district, I think the district is less than that, but
Okay.
there have been substantial market gains in the account due to some diversification that the retirement trust has gotten into. So I can collect that information and get it to the
Okay,
commission.
it'd be helpful.
Yes.
So I think one of the things we might think about is we look at, start the next budget cycle, which will be sooner than we all think. You know, is what pace do we want to stay on with that? I mean, can we continue to do this? Do our requirement for other investments kind of put pressure on doing this to our operating expenses, or can we continue to just shovel money into the pension fund? And, you know, with the goal one day of having no liability, that's what we want.
Absolutely. Okay. Old business, West End District Station.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Buckingham, when I was speaking with him earlier, when he was telling me he wasn't going to be able to be here, he said the status hasn't changed, still remains as it is. He hopes to be able to report more at next meeting, but this status is still the same.
Next item is interlocal agreement for beach safety and lifeguard services with Okaloosa County.
I'm going to touch base on that. We do have an agreement we have come to. Chairman Moore wasn't able to be signing tonight. He's not here. We're going to get him to sign here in the next day or so, is my understanding, and submit it over to the county. They had their meeting February 18th, in which it will be approved. As far as when we're receiving the ATVs, as of today, they are still, quote, on track to be delivered 2 weeks prior to March 7th. They've been ordered on schedule. We're waiting on the county to give me a definitive time frame. As far as today, they said they've been on track to deliver 2 weeks prior to March 7th. And that's when I believe the station needs them by.
And the only modification to the agreement in front of you was there was one word that needed to be changed, which stated the district's possessions instead of district positions. So there was that one change since you previously said.
Okay. We good with that?
Need a motion?
Do we vote on that now? Or
Yes.
just- Okay. Yeah.
Make the motion to approve the interlocal agreement.
Second.
All in favor? Unanimous. Property adjacent to 117 Crystal Beach Drive, Station 10.
Yes, sir, I've spoken with the attorney that's handling it for the trust, as well as all the other individuals that have to be listed on the title. Spoke with her as recently as this afternoon. The status is that she has spoken with those that are listed on the title, as well as the trustees. Everyone she's spoken to would like to sell the property, so I believe it's going to happen. She is working on clearing the title so that we can move forward in this process. So she says, I'm still working on it. It's not at a point where we can do anything just yet, but she hopes here in the near future, depending on how we want to find that we might be able to go ahead and have that taken care of. So she is continuing to work on it. She's got to get that clear title to be able to work to really do anything with us. But there's no objections from those that are listed on the title. There's no one objecting to it that she's spoken to yet, which is critical for us.
That's progress.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to Chief's reports, beach safety update.
Yes, sir. As you see, Chief D'Agostino isn't here. He's had a medical procedure here within the last couple of weeks and is not able to attend today. Got to get to his report. You'll see the first day of service starts March 7th. Life jar chairs are complete as far as purchase and being built. And as DC has stated, the ATVs, UTVs are anticipated to be delivered by the 15th or this weekend, so that then we can do our part as far as things out we need to do, because there are things that we do that the county doesn't do to those, as far as we put GPS monitors on them so we know where they are at all times on the beach and that kind of stuff. So there's things that we still need to do that only us, that we do, they don't. So we still have to have a little bit of time to get them to the shop, get them wired, get those things on it. But Joe says it's going to be really tight to kind of make it happen because of that time frame, but he anticipates we won't be on the beach operating come the 7th. So everything else is progressing smoothly. We've been hiring, doing the swim test, doing all the stuff he needs to do to have that group ready to go at the beginning of the season. So he's on track to make it happen.
I just don't like the idea of us not having the control of when we can get the vehicles and stuff like that. It's just-
It's, sorry.
No, please do.
It's an issue that I'm going back and forth with the attorney for the county. I was involved originally, and it is what it is for this year. Definitely going to try to push the way it was in previous years for following year. I mean, unfortunately, we're stuck with the way it is this year, but with Joe and Chief, Catherine and I think we'll be able to get through it this year, and then next year, we're gonna try to get back to the way it was, because it is a lot easier when the district has control from a legal standpoint and obviously a practical standpoint as well.
How do we get the county to come to that conclusion? I mean, we're all solidly on board with what you said, we agree. But it seems like until the county decides that that's the best thing for the county.
I've been
It's gonna be
discussing it
difficult.
with their counsel, Ms. Parsons. I haven't spoken with anybody in the county. It's my understanding from her that maybe one or two people that are trying to push for it. I have not gotten what I would call legitimate reason of why they want to do this, except the county wants a little bit more control. Even their attorney admit from a legal standpoint, it's a pain because there's a lot of liability and insurance you have to go through. So I'm hoping that by going through the attorney, she advise the county that is in the best interest to go back to the way things are. If not, if she can't do that, my next step would try to get a meeting with the county, with Ms. Catherine and the chief to see what we can do, what type of agreement we can come to make this a little bit easier on us.
I think it's gonna be basically just a wait and see and document any issues that we have this year. And,
Well, and this is a trial run. I mean, it's taken us 3 months to go back and forth with an agreement. And we're still waiting on the vehicles when they knew about this months ago. So already from a legal standpoint, it's dragging out a lot longer than it should have.
well, that's what I was talking about, the ability to reinforce what we're saying.
Yes, sir.
And get it back to the way it was.
We're gonna be our own worst enemy, because no matter what they do that screws up, the men and women of this district are gonna do everything they can do to make it turn out okay for the public anyway. They're gonna work nights to get the GPS on the rigs, of all those things. And so standing back is gonna look like it worked just well. but it's gonna come out of our hide.
Unfortunately.
And there needs to be some way, I think, to get a little publicity around, you know, the effort. And I'm not, you know, I'm not saying let's go create a problem, but when a problem exists, let's don't hide it, okay?
Well,
And, you know, we gotta think about how we get some exposure so people understand that, you know, we're on the precipice of not having, you know, four-wheelers on the beach. We
well,
are.
and this year, going forward, I mean, I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of hiccups and the best thing that we can do is, Mr. Rick said, that we document everything that's going on. And so towards the end of the season, then we can shed a little bit more light to the public on it. Right now, it's been a hassle, but nothing that we can't take care of for the time being. I agree that this needs some light shed on this, especially for renewing the agreement next year.
Yeah. Okay.
Hiccup and costs of life, though, and that's the problem is.
Well, that's, we won't let that happen.
And exactly.
We're, just relative, we're going to be meeting with Ms. Adams, who's the TDC director, as well as the other entities that receive TDC funds for public safety, the sheriff's office as well as the county's beach safety chief, to start their budgeting process for next year's budget. Because the way the county operates, it's just something, because it's so far out, that we have to start early because of the processes they have to go through, that we're already going to be having a meeting on that. So some of this that we're discussing tonight, and some of the concerns that Joe and I have, we intend on expressing those during that meeting to Ms. Adams, and we'll kind of see what kind of feedback we get. There are several other things that there's no need to bring up here, but that Joe and I have already identified that we're going to have to discuss during this meeting. So, and I'll keep the board abreast of how things are working, but I do agree with DC that I think working through the attorney is a good start, because I think it eliminates some barriers that Ms. Catherine and I face with staff. Ms. Catherine and I have found that working through DC, or previously when Dawn was here, we were able to gain, you know, you kind of eliminate some of the petty stuff, and then they look at it from their perspective, kind of representing each party, but yet seeing it from kind of an outsider that's not necessarily in that mess, and go, hey, this makes sense. And we were able to get some things accomplished. So I hope that, as DC said, maybe Ms. Parsons, they're able to kind of eliminate some of these barriers that we're facing that are kind of brought forward by others that really doesn't make sense, just like the board does. It just doesn't make sense. So we hope to be able to progress, but we'll keep the board absolutely abreast of any issues we run across.
Thank you. All right. Training report, Jason.
Yes, you'll see, maybe this is the time that I get to bring it up too, because it's relative. You'll see that the firefighters got in 36 hours of training, which is great. I love to see it when they're getting in more than what we consider to be the minimal, 20 hours. And when I mentioned to the board before about the 20 hours is as it relates to, because for us, as a fire district, a standard that we'd say, we could make our standard 40 instead of 20 if we want. The 20 comes from ISO. So then that's where I'm going to kind of pitch into that. And you'll see they don't give credit for EMS training. That's one of the requirements I've told that our training chief, which has to be Chief Anderson, the battalion chief that's in charge of our training and setting it up. We don't get credit for that. They're only considered with fire-related training. So that's why the guys kind of go above and beyond to make sure that we're getting in more than 20 hours and we're getting money. And I typically don't ever express all of that, but I do feel it's relative to express that this time, because we just recently received our ISO classification, and as you saw, it was in the paper, we're class 4s and not a class 3, where we were previously a class 3. So want to make sure the board was aware of that fact of that we have been rated as a 4. That's not unanticipated by either the board or myself. It's something that we discussed several years ago, and in anticipation that eliminating positions, as we were kind of forced to do because we didn't, the funding, and make other very tough decisions, kind of put us in that position where it was going to have an effect or potential effect. Well, it did have the effect, and we see it now in that rating, in that classification of 4. So just want to make sure the board, one, I'm sure they've seen it in the paper, but two, I'm making sure that I'm kind of explaining it, that's where we are. And it is relative to training because that's one of the areas that they evaluate is training, hydrants, water supply, I mean, they grade us throughout, and it's all these little components that come together to come up with a number that they say fits in a bracket, and they call it a class. So I could kind of go into great detail. I don't think necessarily with time, anytime the board would like to discuss it and look at it, and I can show you all the pieces and parts and how it kind of fits. But we are 4 right now, and we'll make some modifications and adjustments. As I said earlier, we have hired 5, and we're putting 3 more on, so you'll see a total of 8. What that really relates to is 2 fill-in positions that people have left, so we're really adding those 6. As of last year's budget, we had budgeted for 3. We didn't hire the 3 because we didn't feel as though the people were there that the class and the type of people we were looking to hire at that time. So we didn't hire, we waited. And that ended up pushing it off to this year, where we also added 3 positions, puts us at 6, which is good. That puts us on a path. I think at some point there'll be an improvement in our rating when they come back. So, and I'll answer any questions about the training report or as the ISO or anything the board might have. We're up to this way.
Inspection report.
Fire Marshal Taylor is sick. He was sick yesterday. He tried to make a run at it this morning. He came in. I told him to shut his door. So we went to the doctor. He's sick. He's not going to be here. But you have the inspection report in front of you. It's typical, as in most any given month. If you have any questions, I'll see if I can answer them. If I cannot, I'll ensure that we get you an answer.
Good. All right, moving on to overtime report.
It's actually not a bad report for the month. You'll want to see 1 24-hour shift, which is one of the larger ones. Other than that, it's pretty small for the month, so I think it's a pretty good report.
All right, moving on to new business, health insurance renewal.
Yes, sir, that's okay. I'll let Ms. Scaffer pick this one up and run with it.
So as we do every year, we have gone out through our agent and received proposals from all the carriers in the area. Florida Blue is refusing to quote on us this year, probably due to our history. They know where we're at. And we've also jumped to a large group, which is Illinois liability on their side. Aetna has provided quotes, and however, there is nothing comparable to the benefits that we currently have. To stay within the same price range of our renewal, which our renewal is at 4% increase, we would have to drastically reduce the benefits. Chief and I did not feel that that was the direction that the board wanted to go, so we are proposing to maintain our current health insurance with United Healthcare with the 4% increase. And you can see that we did have budgeted a 10% increase, so we actually do have a budgeted savings that we will be able to utilize in other categories. The term will run from March 1st to February 28th of next year.
I understand it was a lot higher than that. I guess you heard of them and watched it closely. And
No, I didn't have to do that
I
this
appreciate
year.
it. Thank you.
It
Thank
did
you for
come
your
in
help.
over 10%.
Thank you.
But David Barton
Yeah.
takes the credit for that. He
Yeah.
worked it this year and was able to get it down to 4.
He knew we weren't going to be happy with it.
Appreciate it. I'll make the motion we approve the.
I second.
Got a motion, we got a second. Call for vote. How about that? You know? All right. Resolution 20-06, dispose of assets.
Ms. Scaffer?
This is simply the replacement of a commercial dryer that was purchased back in 2006. It has gone beyond its useful life and is obsolete, has no value, but it was a capital asset, so we need to dispose of it.
But what are we gonna do with it?
I don't have the answer to that. I'm not sure if it's gonna be picked up by the vendor that took the other one. I would have to ask the battalion chief. I'm not aware of what they're gonna do.
I would look at one of the smaller volunteer districts and see if they can't
Okay.
use it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it still working? That's the main thing, that it is.
No, it was not working, and I believe the repair quote that came back, it was worth buying a new one. That's why we
So it's
went that
probably
direction.
Literally not worth anything to anybody.
Correct. But we'll still make sure that if it is if there's anything to salvage on it, that we, can
Okay.
find somewhere for it to go.
Get about $2 at the scrap metal place.
If they can be of any kind of functional use for another department, we'll make sure that.
Perfect.
We need.
Need a motion on that.
I move that we approve resolution 2006.
A second.
Call for the vote, all in favor? Unanimous? Good. Okay, our next meeting will be a regular meeting of March 10th, 2020 at 5:30 PM. And nothing else to come before this board, this meeting stands adjourned.